Hey everybody. All right. So we got we got a great show today. We're going to be hanging out with Dr. Kipp, Kipp Davis, the Bible scholar, Old Testament Bible scholar, and yeah, we're going to get started in just a minute. And I am Brently, and this is the Apostate. So let's go. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. It's good to meet you.
You too, man. This is awesome. Oh yeah. So you got a new book coming out.
I do. It's out. It's out. It came out on Friday, and I'm excited because it took forever to
I can imagine, man.
and to finish. So and that's why we're 5 minutes late getting on, because I was still working on it and just finishing it up, and it took longer than I expected, but now it's done.
Hell yeah. So like what is it about? Like, so it's called God's Propaganda, pulling back the curtain on what the Bible wants you to see. Is that what
That's what it's called. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
So what is it about? What's going on there?
So it's now the book is based on a course that I taught for years. And I taught it most of the time. I taught it at actually an evangelical Christian university, a course on Israelite religions. So basically what people thought and believed and how they worshipped God or the gods at the time when, like, the Bible texts were written, or when the Bible texts purport to have been written. So, and this was a challenging course for a lot of kids at an evangelical Christian university, just because, like, we read the Bible through English translations, and most of us read the Bible through 20th, 21st century eyes without really thinking through the implications or just the contextual backgrounds of some of the things that are in there to be able to clearly understand them. So that's really what the course was about, was just revealing to students, hey, you know what, these texts aren't really what you think they are. The religions of ancient Israel aren't really what you think they are. So let's unpack how we got from there to here. And so, you end up covering things like the fact that there's, multiple gods in ancient Canaan, that the earliest Israelites worshipped multiple gods. They understood that there were multiple gods. They didn't have a problem with this. And over time, this is stuff that got kind of massaged out of the texts, but we can still see evidence of it. They used to have a strong tradition of Asher worship, of the, a sense of the divine feminine in antiquity that sort of got scrubbed out of the text. Yeah. They used to practice child sacrifice. They used to sacrifice in general, because this was a tabernacle temple religion, was the central focus of the religion. It had nothing to do with texts or with the Torah or with the word of God or anything like that. It was all about killing animals and burning them up and sending them up to God to make him happy, right? Like, this is it. And it just, there's all this nuance, and there's all this stuff within the actual cultural context of ancient Israel that gets missed if you're not paying close attention to the text. And sometimes it takes, somebody who's got some expertise to point the way and to show you how to do that. So the book, that was the course, and the book is based on that. I expanded it quite a bit tried to, because I didn't have my PowerPoint, so I had to figure out ways to compensate without visuals. And so it's really an exploration of the Bible as a document that represents or retains memories of the ancient religions of Israel and some of the history of Israel, and then how to how those developed and how we understand those sorts of things today. It's pulling back the curtain on what the Bible wants you to see. And I should say something about this too. This is all my take on the biblical text is that by and large, I mean, there's many ways that you can understand them or classify them, the text of the Bible. One of those ways is to think of them as propaganda, because the texts were collected by people who were in power, kings and priests. They were written and then they were rewritten in an effort to bolster ideologies, political ideas. Religion served, and I use religion in scare quotes here just because it's difficult to even define or understand what that looked like in antiquity when it it was so much part of every aspect of life. Religion was a tool. The ways in which people were expected to interact with the gods was used as a tool by people in power to promote their own ideas, their own ideologies, their own national security, their own tribal ambitions, their own all these sorts of things. And one of the ways to look at the text, and one of the ways that I focus on looking at the text in the book, is to try and uncover some of those some of those propagandistic narratives, the lenses that are applied to the text, and trying to see behind them and figure out what's going on. And part of the way of doing that is situating text historically. Not all the texts were written at the same time. They were written at various different times. So it's looking at parts of the Bible and going, okay, like this is propaganda for like the house of David, or the opponents of the house of David. So that's probably when these texts were written. And then how do people just use this kind of literature over time? So yeah, how was that? Was that okay?
That was perfect.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's awesome because it's cool. I'm so glad that this is what the book's about, because I have heard several times, and I always thought it was so interesting when people talk about like the Exodus story. That's usually where I hear like, oh, this is propaganda. It's like anti-Egyptian propaganda, right? Do you like touch on that at all? Is that like
I have I have a whole chapter essentially about the Exodus, and yeah, it's definitely a form of anti-Egyptian propaganda, but I think it's super old. Like this is a tradition that is probably quite old. One of the earliest texts of the Bible that we have is something called the Song of the Sea. Yes, which appears in Exodus chapter 15, and it's a standalone poem song that tells of Israel's victory, Yahweh's victory, actually, over Pharaoh and the Egyptian army. I think that this is most scholars think that this is a very, very old text, and I'm using old in the sense that lots of people, when you think you're talking about old biblical text, that it's stuff that was written by Noah or like Abraham. No, that's not what we're talking about. Not even something written by Moses, right? It's an old text, meaning it might go back to the late Bronze Age or the early Iron Age, which is like the 11th century, maybe the 12th century BCE. So like 1200 BC. Which yeah, so it's and importantly, it's not the Exodus story, right? It's just a song or a poem that talks about how Yahweh defeated Pharaoh's army by drowning them in what's called, in Hebrew it's called the Yam Suf. In most English translations, it's called the Red Sea. It's literally maybe the Sea of Reeds, which is like a marshy lake in the that's east of the Nile Delta. I actually think it might even better be understood as the Sea of the End, meaning like kind of like the sea at the end or the edges of the world in their estimation. So, but it's all about Yahweh drowning Pharaoh and his army, and how happy everyone is about this. And then it sort of culminates in the last several stanzas of the poem with the sons of Israel entering the land of Canaan and expelling the residents of Canaan. And then it says they arrive at and establish the sanctuary of Yahweh. And this is something like a lot of people tend to sleep on. They tend to miss. Like this doesn't sound like the Exodus story, right? Like there's no Moses, there's no slavery in Egypt, there's no there's no wandering around in the wilderness. And what there is a conquest of sorts of Canaan, but one which results in what? Did they build the temple then? They set a sanctuary up in the land. So it's like it's very interesting because it doesn't sound much like anything that appears in the Exodus story. But I think too, one of the features of this song, and one of the reasons a lot of scholars think it's very old, is because it celebrates the independence of a large group of people who seem to be unmoored from like any sort of commitment or obligation to a ruler or to a king. And scholars tend to think that this more accurately reflects what we see in the archaeological record, where prior to the emergence of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, sometime in the 9th or 10th, 9th, 8th century BCE, sometime prior to that, this is how people lived. They were out in the Judean highlands. They lived in small villages. They were relatively independent. And if you read the text of the Bible carefully, you can see a lot of this sort of stuff sprinkled throughout in there. There's this strong, what scholars call a polemic, like they're very opposed to the Canaanite city-states in the area. They're very, anti-city. They're very interested in just, being farmers hanging out in the mountains and in the valleys away from the cities and just kind of looking after themselves. So it's that I think that's part of the propaganda that's at work in the Song of the Sea in particular and in the Exodus.
Huh.
So
That's fascinating. I had heard that, and the languages and stuff, and which is really cool. But it's like
which is more than some people on YouTube, as I come to discover quite regularly.
Oh,
Sorry.
A lot of people pretend to, but no.
Many people pretend to know the languages, and it's continuously frustrating, but also kind of funny. So
yeah. Well, you got the blue letter Bible, and you can just look at
You
the
can
Hebrew word,
yeah,
and
there
you
you
know
go.
everything at that point.
Absolutely.
You know, with one website.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in order to do a sermon where it doesn't really matter if it's true or not.
I
But
used to do that kind of shit, you know.
yeah,
But anyways, for real, I did. But
oh my God. Yeah, I mean, me too. I used to love Blue Letter Bible, honestly, because it gives you so much more room to make
yeah,
shit up. You know what I mean? It really does. It's like you're
that's very
blowing
true.
those minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I heard that. Okay, so I had heard that like the linguistics like were what was used in order to demonstrate that the Exodus story didn't happen, that it wasn't real because of linguistic experts stuff. And I didn't. That's as far as I understand. I've heard
Okay.
about it. That's what I wanted to ask. I was like, I don't know what that meant because I'm like, how does I don't know. I don't know how that
Yeah.
can work.
I don't know if I think prior to any there has been and it's a pretty contentious issue actually, the tracking the linguistics, the languages in the biblical text historically is something that scholars don't agree about. So like there are a couple of scholars by the name of Jan Houston and Ronald Handel who have written a book called I think it's just called The Origins of the Hebrew Bible, where they do this, where they actually look at the language, the Hebrew language in the Bible, and then compare it to inscriptions and other texts like ostraca and letters and documents that we have from any time in history during the Iron Age, like from like the 9th century to the 2nd century BCE, and are trying to use those to say, well, this is how the language developed over time, and this is how we can tell how old some of these texts are just based on the use of the language. Some texts are easier to date that way than others, and sadly they happen to be the later ones, right? Like some of the things, Daniel's really late, Chronicles is late, Job is late. These sorts of texts are late, so it works really well for that. Not as well for some of the earlier stuff, but there's still, I think some of it's pretty convincing. Not everyone's convinced by it, but I think most of the work that was done, or most of the suspicion by scholars with regards to the historicity of the Exodus started from archaeology, from looking at the biggest problem in the first place was the fact that when archaeologists started to look for evidence of Israelites in Canaan and evidence of the conquest of Canaan, as reported in the book of Joshua, they started to realize that none of this stuff added up, that it did not align. Like what they dug up in the ground was not lining up with the way the text talks about what happened, and that really pushed scholars to go, oh wow, well, I mean, it's sort of looking like, and it seems like this whole story is something that was just made up, just didn't happen. There's nothing within our pretty extensive Egyptian records about anything approaching an exodus of Hebrews or Israelites. We don't even have any evidence that there were Israelites or Hebrews at the time. So lots of these sorts of questions, it really was at first, I think, an archaeological question. And then scholars started to look more closely at the texts and started to see in those texts that they could date quite early. The one I mentioned, the Song of the Sea, is pretty early, but again, doesn't really it doesn't look like what we consider to be the classical Exodus story. There's another place, the book of Hosea, which is one of the minor prophets, is also pretty early. And in Hosea chapter 12, he kind of does a rehearsal of these ancient traditions about the patriarchs like Jacob and Abraham, and Isaac. But then it also mentions stuff about the Exodus. But again, it doesn't mention Moses. It mentions like a prophet who led them out of Egypt, but that's it, right? It just talks about him leading people out of Egypt. It doesn't give you any sorts of details or anything. So that's kind of how scholars started to flesh this out. And the other thing that they noticed is that in a lot of these other prophets, they just don't seem to know anything about the Exodus, which is supposed to be, like the most important thing that happened to these people. So that's kind of where it went. But yeah, linguistically, I think it's still useful, and I think that some scholars have done some work on this, which help us to see that yeah, some of these texts that do go back really early, just they're not what we think they are, and the stories about the Exodus are probably actually pretty late. The more fleshed out, developed stories about slaves in Egypt and Moses killing, growing up in Pharaoh's palace, and then coming back, and the 10 plagues and all these sorts of things. Like this is the kind of stuff that probably was fairly late. So yeah,
that's fascinating. Because like in Pandora's Pinata is a viewer here, and they wanted to ask a question about just on this same thread, kind of like there was a lot of like inacronisms, it seems, in the story itself, right? 'Cause, like, apparently they're like going through, like, certain things weren't invented till certain times, right? As far as I understand, I'm going to summarize it as best I can. But and he's saying that like the smelting of gold, like they were just lost in the desert, right? And then they,
all right,
you know what I'm talking about? And
that's
then
true. Yeah.
they get to a point and they're like, but then they're able to do this stuff with gold to make a golden
But it's I mean, you read that story, it's a miracle, right? Like Aaron says to Moses that he just took everything and threw it in the fire. And
Oh,
ta-da! Out
wow.
came a golden calf.
So God was like helping them do the thing they're not supposed to do.
I don't know. So and is Aaron from the perspective of the writer too? Is Aaron a reliable narrator? Is he telling the story truthfully? Do we trust him? That's one of the fun things about when it comes to the texts of the Bible, is trying to figure out what the writer of the actual text actually thinks about the characters in the stories that he's writing, right? And there's a few places, like David's a pretty controversial guy, and there's sometimes where it feels like the narrator, we're always kind of conditioned to think of David as a good guy, right? As someone that God really likes, as someone that the writers are very fond of. But I think there's some times where you read a text and you can go, do they really think he's that good, or is he just being an asshole here?
Right. This one time.
Yeah, no, I mean that happens multiple times with David too, right?
Is he like a dirty Harry, maybe? Like, he's like bad, but he's good, but he's bad.
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that. But I also think too, like David was just the chronicler even says the book of Chronicles, which is like a late rewriting of some of these earlier histories, even says that's where this idea is introduced when it comes time for David to build the temple for Yahweh in Jerusalem. Yahweh responds to him and says that your hands are covered in blood. You can't build this temple for me. Your son will have to do it, because you're a violent man who has achieved his position through violence. So I mean, and this is something that seems to be reflected in some of the earlier texts too, where David is essentially going around and knocking off his rivals and his adversaries in order to achieve his position as and I mean, but it's not unsurprising. He's like kind of like a tribal warlord who's doing warlord things. That's how people become kings, right? You have to be kind of a cutthroat, bloodthirsty tyrant in order to get there. But this comes through in some of the text. One of the stories that I'm thinking of just offhand here, there's a story where David, before he becomes king, comes to a place called Shiloh, which is where the Ark of the Covenant was kept before it was moved to the temple in Jerusalem. This is according to the story, according to the narrative we have, right?
Right.
He comes there, and he is he's by himself, and he's running away from Saul, who's trying to kill him. And so he enters the tent shrine, the tabernacle, and the high priest says, "Hey, like, what are you doing here in the tabernacle?" And David says to him, "Oh, I'm on a secret mission from Saul himself.
Oh, wow.
He sent me here, right? And I'm wondering if I can actually just take the flatbread here that's been set aside for God, if I could just take it for myself, because nudge, nudge, wink, wink, we all know God's not actually going to eat it, right? Like, we know
He doesn't
right?
like bread. He likes,
So
cooked animals,
So he tells the high priestess, he says, "Yeah, maybe I could just take it because I'm on a secret mission from Saul, right? And I have to take it back to my men who are out in the field, and we need provisions. So you could totally trust me. It's 100% okay. And oh, by the way, he tells the high priestess, right? And yeah, he's not on a secret mission from Saul. He's running, right? He's not. This is a lie. So he lies, right? And then the priest goes, "Oh, well, I guess that's okay, but you have to promise first that your men have not had sex with any women, you know, in the last while, because that would make them unclean, and they can't be handling the holy God bread if they're unclean." So David goes, "Oh, yes, of course. All of us have not had sex with any women because we've been, busy out fighting people. We've been engaged in battle." And I mean, I don't know. If you know anything about it, ancient Near Eastern warfare, you're kind of going, I don't know, guys. Is anybody going to believe this story?
Right.
The high priest apparently is pretty gullible, so he just gives it. He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good." But honestly, like, is David supposed to be a good guy in this story? Telling lies to the high priest to save his own life, and then, are we actually going to believe that they haven't been just terrorizing the countryside and killing and scraping their
Right.
way through the villages and the cities? Like, I don't know, like, it's one of those stories, right, that just makes me go, huh, like, it's so much of it seems so absurd that I have to think the writer's going, "Come on, guys. We know what's going on here, don't we?"
Right.
So,
This isn't meant to be. Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
mhm.
Yeah. Wow. That's too odd. Like the way that just the way that the authors are intending it, because like you said, like some of this stuff is just so bizarre. It's so out of left field, and then you're trying to piece it together and try to understand not only like what what it's saying, but like what it meant to the person writing it. That just seems
Yeah.
like a Herculean task to try to
Yeah.
force this shit out.
But it's yeah, and it is. It's very difficult. But it's fun too, right? It's kind of fun because there's lots of things that we just don't know. So there's room to play around and to, you know, uh to make to throw out ideas and to see what sticks. Not that I recommend that you can just throw anything out. but you have to you have to have good reasons for suggesting some of the things that you do. But that's part of the fun.
Like
So
Jesus is a PDF file that was touching boys.
yeah, that's a bad that's a very poorly founded idea that I get really frustrated by, because my comment section tends to be littered with people who love to hammer out in all caps on their keyboard, what was Jesus doing with a kid in the garden at 4 a.m? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like the text doesn't even say anything close to that. Like it's just not even, there's just nothing there. There's nothing.
Wow.
So
So it's just
but
making stuff up, really.
just making, people love to make stuff up about the text. And like, don't get me wrong, like it comes from a place where, you know, we live in a world where the Roman Catholic, not just the Roman Catholic Church, but religious institutions, Christian institutions, have committed horrendous crimes and covered up horrendous abuse over the course of many, many years. Just terrible, awful things. And I think it comes from this place of, this is the world in which we live. Maybe it's something that maybe it was just always like this, right? So maybe we can find evidence of this in some of the texts that we have to show us that it was always like this. And yeah, I mean, I guess if you could find the evidence for it being there, then like, yeah, more power to you. But if it's not there, you can't make it up either, right? So
you gotta actually have
and the
something.
fact that you can't find evidence for it, that shouldn't minimize how terrible that stuff is now, right? It just, so I mean, we know that stuff is happening and has gone on. So deal with that instead of, you know, trying to lay these reconstruct these ideas for places and periods when we just don't have the evidence. We just don't know, right? So
Yeah, well, because it can minimize it, it can actually do more harm than good. Because then it could just, you know, if they're like, oh, if they're willing to make up this type of stuff, see, then it's probably not even happening now. Like you could do stuff like that, you know, and make those kinds of like the church could try to make those kinds of arguments. See, they just make up accusations. See, you know,
you're honestly, it makes it helps to get them. It makes it easier for them to defend themselves.
It does. Yeah,
it does. So it's bad. Stop doing it. Stop making shit up.
That's bad. Exactly. Jeez. So I do have a question here about a word.
A word.
Okay. Well,
a Hebrew word. Okay.
Yes. Well, let me start earlier, but because one, I'm just fascinated by the sexual stuff in the Bible that makes it like y'all just
listen. Me too. So maybe you've come to the right place.
Okay, cool. Because there's like it's in the very beginning of Genesis. And you know, you got the two different Genesis stories, right? You got the second one, and it's kind of out of order and kind of weird, right?
Yeah,
I've heard it suggested several times that Adam was fucking the animals. Is that What
Oh.
is that wrong?
Listen. So it's now, to be fair, the story doesn't just come right out and say that, right? But if you think about how the arc of this story goes, it's kind of like this, right? It's God, and this is the second creation story that starts in Genesis chapter 2 verse 4 and
Right.
goes all the way through to basically the end of chapter 3, maybe into chapter 4. But so this is all like the self-contained story. The story starts with Yahweh making the man out of dirt, he builds him, he makes like a figure out of the dirt. And the word that's used there is a word to describe this. It's a word that is used most commonly of like a potter working his wares, right? So God's basically building his little like a little golem, but not a golem because he's God. So
Right. That's what people make
right.
those.
People make those. But God doesn't. When God does it, it's for realsies. So so that's what he's doing. And then he breathes into him the breath of life and animates the clay. And then he takes him and he puts him in the garden that he planted in order to look after it and to keep it. So in the first place, I like to point out that this is not Yahweh making a man, making a person because he wants to have a relationship with him. That this is not God looking after his his loneliness. This is God, going, I've got this garden. It's a lot of work, gardening. I don't know about you. Like I have a lawn that I have to mow, and that's literally that's all I have to do at my house is just cut the grass. And I'm supposed to do it, like once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And oh my God, it's all I can do to just do that. Right. Like it's fucking work looking after a garden. He's got like a whole ass garden, like fruit trees as he planted and everything. And he's going, this is fucking work. I'm not doing this. I'm going to get someone else to do it for me because I'm God. So that's what he does. I've got this guy I just made out of clay. I'm gonna put him in the garden, and he's going to be there. It says to till and to tend it. He's going to look after it, and he's going to make sure that it keeps producing garden. It's gonna be a good garden, right? So that's what he does.
Yeah, he puts them in a little collared shirt, a little name tag. It's like, you're the GM. No.
Yes, exactly. So this is what he does. And then he realizes the next thing that happens is he realizes that's a lot of work for just this one little guy. He needs some help. So the next thing he does is he makes all the animals. And to be clear, I have a friend who's a seminary professor that I like to drink scotch with quite often. And he's also on YouTube. His name is Dr. Joel Carrico. And he seems to think that it wasn't all the animals, but he's just wrong about this. God made all the animals out of the dirt, just like he made the man. And then it says that he brought each one to the man to help him, to be his helper, And then it says, you know, the man, you know, he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And the man gave all of the animals names, which in, you know, in this world basically means that he decided what they were going to do in, you know, the space. He gave them jobs. So, you know, and then the next thing it says that there was not a suitable helper to be found for the man. And this kind of has you going, oh, well, what does that mean? And then the next thing he does is he puts the man into a deep sleep. He takes a rib out, just pops it right out of the man.
Ouch.
And then he does like magic on the rib and turns it into a woman. And then at that point, he brings her to the man, and the man says, "At last, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. You shall be called woman because you came out of man. From here on, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his woman, and they shall be one flesh." So this is an expression of sexual intimacy, sexual intercourse. But if you're tracking this, right, if this is the outcome of all this activity from the beginning, if this is the job, if this is what was determined, was kind of like this is exactly what the man needs in order to get his shit done in the garden. And if the animals were not suitable to this task, then I don't know, like what did he do some experimenting? How did he discover? How did the man discover that he can't, or you know, maybe having sex with the sheep is bad? Like I think that's definitely part of the message of the story here is don't have sex with sheep. I think that's definitely part of the message of the story. The writer's going, guys, have sex with the woman, which means don't have sex with any of the other animals.
It's like, please stop doing that, and I'll
stop doing this. Okay, do this instead.
Right. There you go.
Right.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, in a roundabout sort of way, the writer is you know, nodding pretty heavily and nudging, right? And I think by implication you have to go, how again, how did anybody figure this out? You can't have sex with the animals. Well, how do you know I can't have sex with the animals?
If you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
But
it's yeah,
he didn't like it as much. He's like, these helpers suck at this. It's like, they're not the right shape.
I mean, they're it's maybe they're good for some things, but God damn it, this is but then again, I think it's also useful. This is not the man. This is not Adam going, I'm not able to find a suitable helper. It's God kind of discovering, oh, that doesn't work. So,
oh yeah, God's. It's like,
you know, I don't know. Maybe it's like, and I'm just saying here, maybe the man was like, yeah, this is good. But then the God's like going, is it really though that good? And then, you know, and then brings the woman and the man going, oh, right. This is way better. Actually, you're right. My bad.
Before I saw her, I thought I could make it work, but now,
yeah, right now,
now it could work. Yeah,
that's right. You don't know what you're missing until you've tried it, right?
That's right.
So,
that's right. And if you're missing something from Adam and Eve story that's about sex, go to Adam and Eve. .com. Why is it
.com.
It's like,
That's right. Yeah.
there it goes.
That was a pretty good one.
AdamandEve.com.
I was like, yeah, I like that one. That was good. I was trying. I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not as good at this as you've had lots of practice doing this, so I probably won't be able to come up with such smooth ad breaks for you. But yeah, no, that was good. I like that one. So,
Yeah.
but do you have to do this several times in the course of however long that we do? Do you have like a contractual obligation, a quota that you have to meet that I got to help you with?
Kind of like most of the other shows that do it, and this is why I don't like doing it this way. They have like a solid 1.5 to 2 minutes in like the middle of the show where they just do a huge ad for Adam and Eve, and I'm just like, I don't
honestly, dude. It's can I say that because I've watched some of your stuff and it's always very funny. But can I say that I think your approach is like way better. Because like 2-minute ad breaks suck. People just skip those, don't they? That's what I do. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get to the end of this. So yours is like way better. I think they should be. I think they need to. I think they need to give you a raise. You need a bonus. Because you're doing it right. You're doing it right, Brently. And
I'm trying to tell them,
if you want to do it right, then just go to
AdamandEve.com. There we go.
And they'll help you to get it right.
That's
right.
With sex toys. All right. And it's funny too, because I always get in trouble. Depending, sometimes you go too far, and then they're like, the ads are like, like, all right, we won't put ads on this anymore. Like, ah, shit, too far. I shouldn't have said the actual thing. I should have just alluded to it. But
wow.
No, yeah, they've actually been really cool. Adam and Eve, they don't care. They're kind of happy. I just noticed that other places did that. I asked them specifically, do I have to do anything? They're like, no, you don't have to do anything.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So yeah, it was kind of cool. But the other, speaking of this, in the same kind of thread, right?
Sure.
There's a story of shit, and I'm so bad with the names in the Bible. But his name becomes Israel. That's
Jacob. Right.
Jacob. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so they're wrestling, right? He has to wrestle God.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And then God grabs his hip, was what I heard growing up. But apparently, this is a bit of a translation thing.
It is.
Interpreted differently.
Sure is. So let me just bring it up here because I don't know the word offhand. That's Genesis. Shoot. I sadly I haven't memorized like the entire Bible.
That'd be tough to do.
So so it's in the 30s somewhere, I think. Pardon me, folks. Okay, so it's coming 30, 32. Okay. I think it's in here. Yeah, so Jacob was left alone. And then it says, and it's kind of interesting because it says that here we go. He was left alone, and it just says that a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the dawn. And when he saw that he was unable, not capable to beat him, he touched him, it says, on the edge of his and here's the word, it's his yorech, which and I'll just the suggestion from the dictionary, the lexicon here, is hip socket. Right. But that's the suggestion, right? But I mean, let's look at what the actual word means by looking at, you know, where it came from and what other things have to say. It's the fleshy part of his upper thigh. And a synonym for this word, there's another word in Hebrew, matnaim, which is often used for like midsection, often used for like genitals. So that's a synonym, right? There's a in the later on in the story here, if you continue reading on in verse 31 and 32, it says, like, Jacob named the place Peniel, meaning I've seen God, a divine being, a God, face to face, yet my life has been preserved. The sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel, limping on his on his midsection. And because of this, the sons of Israel, to this day, they don't eat that muscle, whatever that is, anymore or at all, because you know, Jacob suffered this injury. So, but you know, what is this? Like, is this it can be used for genitals in some instances. It's indicative of fatherhood, this word, right?
Okay.
It can be erotic. Song of Songs 7 verse 2 uses this word in an erotic way, referring to genitals. Also in Genesis. So it's you know, there's lots of ways you can go here. So again, this is one of these instances where you know, the translators are probably trying to be less explicit, just because modern readers, like, you have to write the people that you write translations for tend to be people who go to church. So usually that's most of them, like most of the people you're writing your translations for. So you have to kind of keep your audience in mind, and if they're going to open up their Bibles and read that a man wrestled with Jacob until dawn, and when he saw that he was like losing, like he wasn't able to beat him, you know, he reached out and he grabbed his dick, and to this day, you know, Jacob is injured because of this. You know, people at church don't like those readings as much.
Like the hip, just the hip.
That's all. And they also, so that's what they prefer. So translators are trying to keep that in mind. But honestly, like, this is one of the things, and this is one of the things that I try to draw out in the book too, is that you know, your English, I don't want to deliver the message that you know, you should just toss your English translations of the Bible. You don't do that, because, you know, they're fine, they're good. You just have to be aware that the translators are not always going to give the maybe the most raw, the most visceral, the most provocative, the most natural, the most traditional translation of a word or a phrase or a text, because sometimes these texts can be scandalous, right?
Mm,
And
I
people
see.
don't like that. So
Yeah.
I did a stream last month, kind of about this. I made a video actually just this last week, summarizing the stream I made that touched on one of these texts, which can be really scandalous when it comes to understanding the way that, and this is part of the problem, right? Ancient people didn't have the same sorts of prudish hang-ups that modern Western people do when it comes to genitals, when it comes to sex, when it comes to body parts. They were pretty frank about this kind of stuff. And I mean, this is you get a sense of why when you just think pragmatically about how these people lived. You lived together with your entire family in a big house. Everybody slept in the same room. Um, everybody understood and was present for sexual activity. It was just part of life. So,
Right.
there was no privacy for most people in these situations. So
Huh.
yeah, it's
Gonna have,
yeah,
gonna have some of
that's
that.
right.
Yeah. That was are you're talking about the Isaiah talking
Yeah.
about
Do you want to talk about that?
yeah, that was pretty great. That was
So,
pretty good.
just to kind of clue people in. So there's a story in Isaiah chapter 6 where the prophet is talking about seeing a vision of God in the temple. And it's one of these troublesome texts that translators are puzzled, genuinely puzzled about what's happening here, just because there's words that appear that we don't fully get exactly what they mean or what the writer was intending for them to mean. So in Isaiah chapter 6 verse 1, it says, in the year that the king Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a throne high and aloft. And then it says this is the problematic word. And most translations will say, his robe filled the temple, or the train of his robe filled the temple. And the problem is that the word, which is shulim, on its own, it doesn't mean robe or garment. It appears in some texts to mean like the edge, the bottom edge of a robe. But in
The dangly
Exodus,
bits, right?
what's that?
The dangly bit.
So yeah, this is my good friend Matt Monger, who teaches at MF Norwegian School of Theology in Oslo. Likes to just, this word on its own just kind of means the bottom edge of something, or the flabby protruding part of something. My friend Matt likes to call this the dangly bits. And it's plural.
I love that.
So, I
That's
do too.
really
I
good.
I really like that too. So if we're just, and that's just the very basic general meaning of this word. You have to do a little bit of work to try and figure out what that means. So like if we're just doing the very basic general meaning of this word, it would be the Lord was seated on a throne high and aloft, and his dangly bits filled the temple. I mean, what does that mean? It could mean his robe, but
Like that fat that hangs down, that's that comes
sorry,
throughout.
what?
It could be like, that this part of your arm, it just dangles on a lot of.
Mine does.
It's a
I
dangly
have
bit.
some flabby bits there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but this is part of the problem here too, though, is that there's other places where this word occurs, dangly bits, or the underside the underside parts. There's other places where this word is used of like female genitalia, and used in what I think is maybe even a more appropriate context, because it happens in the book of Jeremiah, it happens in the book of Nahum, and it happens in the book of Lamentations, where in those first two, in Jeremiah and Nahum especially, and I'm saying Nahum for people who speak English properly, and less Hebrew. But in Jeremiah and Nahum, it's used of a woman, and it's used of like ripping her clothes off and exposing her genitals, her dangly bits, right? Even though women don't have dangly bits, but it's still what's underneath, right? It's exposing that. Isaiah has had a vision in the temple and has seen that, and he's very upset about it. He says, let me just pull up what he says here. He says, "Woe is me, I am lost. I'm a man of dirty lips. I live among a people of dirty lips, and my eyes have beheld the King, Yahweh of armies." And then what happens is by the way, there's these types of angels in the temple too, called the seraphim, flying around. They all have 6 wings, and with 2 wings they're covering their eyes, and with 2 wings they're flying, but with the remaining 2 wings they're also covering their own genitals in the temple, right? And they're saying, "Holy, holy, holy, Yahweh of armies, his," let me look at the word here exactly. His glory, his kavod, fills the entire earth. So, like, there's a lot going on here, and Isaiah's upset, and he says, "I've seen the King, and I've got dirty lips, and I'm embarrassed. I'm in a state of like serious anxiety about what I've just seen." And then one of the seraphs has to come and touch his lips with a burning hot coal from the altar and says, "Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt shall be removed and your sin has been purged." And then he is now clear to go and deliver God's message. So I don't know. I look at this whole thing and I'm going, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is Isaiah so upset? Why does he say on seeing this that he's got unclean, like dirty lips, and he's in this state of shock? And why, when he's had his lips basically burned with a hot poker, at that point, the angel says, "Now your guilt and your sin has been removed from you." So the implication here seems to be that he has seen something that he was not supposed to see. And because of that, he understands that he is in a position of serious vulnerability and danger in the presence of God, and has to have his sins removed. He's got to be, this has to be purged from him. And you know, there's other places in the in the Bible where something has been exposed and it creates guilt. And that's usually uncovered. There's texts where, you know, there's a story of Noah who gets drunk. This is after he survives the flood, and he gets drunk and he's lying naked in his tent, and you know, his son has seen him exposed, and it creates this situation of guilt and shame. There's other places in the text which talk about revealing or exposing your father's nakedness in the book of Leviticus, or your mother's nakedness in the book of Leviticus. This is usually euphemistic of having to do with sex, right? But there's all of these sorts of images that we receive in the biblical text, and then these texts in the prophets of women having their own nakedness exposed in a shameful way, using that exact same word. When it appears in the book of Isaiah, I'm left to think the writer doesn't want to just come out and say, you're looking at God's giant dick. Doesn't want to come out and say that. So he doesn't just say that, but he also is demonstrating that Isaiah has seen something that he was not supposed to see, something that's been exposed, that creates this situation where he's now in a position of shame and guilt that he needs to be cleaned from, in order so that he can go forward and actually speak and talk about what's going on, what he's seen, and what God's message is. So yeah, I mean, there's so much going on.
It almost feels like the embarrassment, like, you know, when you have somebody that's like a way higher status than you, right?
Yeah, right.
And then like they're accidentally, like, you know what I mean? Like somebody like takes a selfie, but they don't realize there's a mirror there or whatever. And you can see like they're like, or something along those lines, but it's God, you know? And so they're like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I didn't, you know, oh man, I didn't, I feel unclean. It's my fault, actually.
Yes, exactly.
Like you accidentally did
totally.
it. It's my fault. That's so funny. That is so wild. Real quick,
it's totally like that.
Let me address the poll real quick. Okay, look, I have an idea. I'm trying to pitch. Here's what it is. I'm trying to pitch a Bible Scholar Mortal Kombat game or something similar to that.
Let's do it. Yeah,
it's cool, right? I think that could be fun. We could make a beta version. And so I was, you know, I put in the poll, you know, who would win, Dr. Kipp Davis or Dr. Joshua Bowen. Now we got to keep in mind the special moves. Now the special move for Dr. Bowen is his bow tie turns into like a metal shing, you know, it comes out and it's like, oh, it's got, you know, it's got like
really
two fans, and then he throws it, right? Throws it at you.
Like a throwing star?
Yeah, kind of like that, right? And then my idea
my reflexes are too fast. I just duck.
You duck behind it, yeah, and just go right over. But like I was thinking yours could be like turn into like a guar thing, and the beard turns into a spike, and then you can shoot the spike. You know what I mean? That's pretty
cool. That's pretty good. That's awesome. I like that.
You know, I'm just, and Bart Ehrman, his glasses get like bigger, and then he has these two blade frisbee type things that are see-through frisbee, and he just cuts people up. So that was awesome. That's my new idea.
That's an excellent idea. Somebody actually did do for back when I used to do my Sunday show. I had a Sunday show a while back where I had Josh and sadly not Bart Ehrman, but Josh and Dan McClellan and Jennifer Bird and my friend Matt Monger. We all hung out together and answered Bible questions and looked at bad Bible videos and things. But somebody actually did something like that, and I think that they were wrestling moves, and I remember the one for Dan was called "Let's See It," and because that's his thing, right? His whole catchphrase is "Let's see it," and it was like an eye gouge. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I really like, but I don't know. I think if you're doing Mortal Kombat stuff, you need something much more metal than that for Dan. But I don't know. He's kind of
stuff would be still good. Maybe we go with the eye.
Maybe we could go with that. Yeah, but he's kind of a I don't know, he's kind of a nerd. So
yeah,
But yeah, no, I like it. I like the beard projectile
right?
death spikes. That's excellent. But I would like to point out as well that while Dr. Bowen's reach, but it's Mortal Kombat, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, I'd like to point out that I also possess, because I'm like pretty old. I also possess old man strength. I'm older than Josh, so it definitely counts. So I was helping my kid move yesterday, and he had he had a couple of his like 20-year-old buddies helping him out move, but these guys couldn't get the super heavy lazy boy couch up the stairs. I had to come in and do the old man strength thing.
Put it on your back and just no, I got it. I'm good.
These kids, that's right. Like these kids today, they just what are they doing?
They don't drink enough milk. It's the milk.
Not enough. No, it's true. I think you're right about that. But yeah, yeah. So
That's
old man strength. It's I didn't.
Real.
I think it totally is totally real. Did I don't even know if I voted in the poll. I better I'm allowed to, aren't I? Or no, I didn't vote in it yet.
So close. It's like a fifth. It's all.
I just voted. I probably put myself.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. You gave
out of 26. What is it?
Now it's 54 for you and 46 for Josh. Oh man.
So that's probably we've also established in the lore, we've established that I can't math. So see, it's 27 votes now. What does that say? I'm still winning. So but so I have to I can't do this math in my head so well, because I apparently really suck at it. But I was probably.
That's impossible. How do you get the? Okay, no, I can't. 27. No way. Got to make it even. Can 3 more people please vote, and then I might have a chance. Okay, 2. Now we're.
Muttley Von Erich said, "Now I know Dr. Kipp has old man strength. He gets my vote. No idea who the other person. He doesn't even know who Dr. Josh is. So that's cool.
Okay.
That's fine. So, are you on TikTok at all, or do you go over there?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I actually just put one up today, but I always forget. I always forget about all of online, to be totally honest. I'm so not online just ever that I just totally forget it. But no, I actually do have a TikTok, and I do put some shorts up there that are clips and stuff from the live streams every so often. And I put one up today, but I'll post once I don't know, a month or something. Like, I swear I'm barely, but I'm actually doing pretty good. I'm actually kind of surprised
Nice.
that, it's growing slowly, but it's like 400 something.
Can I just say how much I'm tracking with Muttley Von Erich here? TikTok kid talk is for young kids. Sorry, that's what Maya calls it, and
Yeah,
it's perfectly apt.
it is.
But it's for kids. He says I'm too old for that malarkey. I kind of feel like that myself. But Dr. Josh has started doing regular TikToks.
Really?
He does bow tie Bible guy. They're just like these little 1-minute shorts. He uploads them a couple times a week. I've seen a few of them. I think he puts them on the Digital Hammurabi YouTube channel too, for those who don't actually want to wade into the festering cesspool of juveniles that is kid talk. I think you can still find them on YouTube. But they're pretty good. They're pretty funny.
It's awesome. I love Josh Bowman. He's so good. Like, he's just, he's so fun.
He really is. So,
he's got the atheist. What is it? The atheist
Handbook of the Old Testament.
Handbook. Yeah. And I think it's got like two. Is it 2 or 3? Now there's like 2 or 3 versions, or not versions, but
of the slavery book. He has his. So there's an updated and extensively revised and updated version of his book about biblical slavery, and he has told me that he is going to do a third one at some point, but he's writing all the time. So he is currently working on volume 3 of the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. He's written a commentary, or he's working on a commentary for the book of Leviticus that he might actually try and publish with an academic publisher, and that would actually be Dr. Josh's first book length academic publication. So I think it's awesome that he's doing that, and I've seen parts of it. It's really good. Most all of what Josh writes tends to be really good. So he's working on that, and he's also writing like language tools for learning ancient languages, because he teaches Sumerian and Akkadian, and he and I both teach biblical Hebrew on his platform on Digital Hammurabi. So he has actually finished has he finished? He's been writing introductory textbooks for learning how to read ancient Hebrew. So it's certainly not for everyone, but I am fairly surprised and impressed at how many people are keen on learning the ancient languages, in large part because they encounter questions like what you have, right? They encounter issues that they learn about with the text on the basis of how on the basis of the fact that it was written in ancient Hebrew, and they're going, hey, wait a minute. but lots of people like to crank that up to 11, right? And they're like, hey, wait a minute, I want to figure this out for myself. So they that's and it's not hard. It's not, languages are hard for some people, but it's doable. It's something that lots of people can do, right? You could, I think anyone with enough work can do it. It just depends on how much work you want to put into it. So, but
like
it's
sorry. No, it's
go ahead.
Like, so you teach, right? Like at a university, right?
I used to teach at universities, but I haven't in a few years.
Oh, okay. What do
So,
you, I mean, do you have a lot of Christian students, and like, have you
oh
over
yeah,
there?
I mean so listen, when I taught, almost all of my students were Christians. So,
Really?
and when we started, and I was talking about the book and how it was based on this course that I used to teach at an I developed it at first at like an evangelical Christian university. I had to make lots of revisions to it when I taught it at like I taught it at like a university in Norway, just like a regular state school, right? So I had to make some adjustments so it was much less evangelical Christian. But and the reason why, like when I taught it, I used to, at the end of just about every single lecture, I used to have to leave time, like 5-10 minutes, just to address student questions, because in particular in the early stages, before if it was a student who didn't know me or had me for a class before, and they didn't trust me, uh there were these moments where I would have to sit down and basically talk students off the ledge, uh
Really?
to yeah, um and I would have to book out, make sure I had lots of free office hours after some of these lectures to make sure that I could walk students through ways in which to understand, because I'm a I'm a firm believer that on its own, I mean, I think a lot of people arrive at a lot of people deconstruct because of the Bible. They just do, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's good. Lots of people become atheists because of this, right? But I don't think you have to. And like, lots of people can deconstruct and still maintain some form of religious faith, some form of Christianity, while still coming to understand that the Bible is just a very, very human book, a very problematic book. I think if that you will be like a much uh, I think you, in my opinion, you would be a much better Christian, coming to an understanding that the Bible is filled with a whole bunch of bullshit, and that there's things that that everyone, if you're trying to be responsible, if you're trying to not hurt people, there's things that you could learn about the biblical text and go, wow, yeah, let's not do that, right?
Right.
So, I would much prefer that to anything else. Well, maybe not anything else, but certainly I would much prefer that to going to just doubling down on this stuff. But so yeah, when I had Christian students, and most of my students, even at the state schools that I taught at in Norway, most people who take these kinds of classes just tend to be Christians or Jewish people in the first place. And yeah, like there's lots of these kinds of moments where people are like, oh wow, wait a minute, like what do you mean that God was not this all-powerful, omnipotent spirit being in the cosmos? I'm like, yeah, he was, once upon a time, he looked just like us and behaved a lot like us, because that's what people used to think the gods
Well,
were just like great big versions of us.
right. Well, it almost reminds me of, like, have you ever seen, did you see the third, or fourth, I guess it is, the fourth Thor movie, where it was like the
I've
God
seen Yeah, I've
King?
seen them all.
You know
Was
what I'm
that
talking about? Oh, the
which one
gore,
was that? Was that Ragnarok?
No, that
Or
was 3, and then
oh,
4 was
okay.
where it's like Gore the God Killer, and he had like he was like this
Oh, yeah,
dedicated
yeah, yeah. Yep.
And remember he like in the God at the beginning, like he goes up to and it's like the God's really big, but
Yeah.
like he's not like infinite, you know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah,
just sort of like really
exactly.
big guy, right? Like it's kind of like that, right?
And that's the thing too, right? Like, and it's a common misconception among people who because of the ways in which we have become conditioned to think about God. It's a common misconception to think that gods knew everything, or that they could do anything, or even that gods could die. People, yeah, like people like
What?
yes,
Damn.
not naturally, right? That's the difference. What immortality is it, you know, you will live forever so long as nothing bad happens to you, right?
Oh, like Highlander rules, you know, unless you get your
Yeah,
head.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So like a god, if a god is just lives a life free of conflict, then he'll live forever. But that's not what any, like, all the gods are constantly fighting with each other, which means that gods actually die, right? But
Yeah.
the other side of this coin is too that gods can get brought back to life as well. So like it's a
Comic book
it's a
rules. Okay. Yeah.
totally comic book rules. Yes. But you know, the gods are so the way I put it in my book when I'm describing the gods, just give me a second because my dog's kind of losing his mind here. I have to open the door
Oh, that's
and let him into
okay.
my office.
I get you. I have the exact same thing happen at times. Like she will not leave me alone till the door's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell
He
yeah.
does. He does that. So the way I put it in my book, I have a chapter in my book about all about who the gods were and what they were like. And the way that I put it in the book is that the gods were in every way just like people, but more. So it was like they were gigantic compared to a person. They were crazy strong compared to a person. They were crazy smart compared to a person. They had like perfect vision, you know, and a perfect sense of smell and whatever, right? Like they were all these things, but then there's like a downside to that too, right? Because they also experienced all the human emotions, but all of those were also cranked up to 11. So
Yeah.
when gods got like when gods fell in love, it was like right, it
Like
was
a teenager.
it was like the you know yeah, it was like the heart meltiest kind of bullshit that you know it just so and then when the gods were sad, like you know I mean they would there are texts uh in antiquity where they literally cry like whole bodies of water, right? Like giant rivers and lakes and things, right?
The
Um
Dead Sea, probably,
when
right?
when the gods when the gods got angry, it was like Hulk rage. But even that, so they got gods. Ancient people thought, and this is part of why, like the ancient people they didn't particularly like the gods because the gods were like they could be unpredictable, right? Because if a god got like if suppose a god got really sad or really angry, that could really fuck things up. Uh
Yeah.
just generally because they become like extremely irrational. The gods were capricious. There's a word for this, right? It's capricious. They were extremely temperamental. You had to be very, very careful around them because they're like giant toddlers, because they have these emotional states that are just constantly cranked up to 11, like to the max. Like it just, so, when a god got angry, they just wanted to kill everybody and everything. And so because of this,
Jesus.
people had to just be very careful. So when they talk about loving the gods, it's more about what they understood to be their obligation to the gods. I have to do this because if I don't, the god's gonna get angry and they're gonna destroy me, even if it's something like super small or tiny, just because they get so goddamn angry. Like the Bible talks about how Yahweh is literally just insanely jealous.
Right.
Insanely jealous, right? Like just he is like, meh, right? Like that is just him. So
Jeez.
he is
So weird.
he is the worst boyfriend with like the most extreme codependency issues. He's like he is the obsessed guy who won't leave you alone. Even after you try and block him, he's going to find a way to find you. Right? He is that guy. So it just and nobody likes that guy. Nobody ever did. Right?
Right.
So
They're just afraid.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's but and this is how it comes out and how it tends to express itself. We misread a lot of this stuff because on the one hand people are trying to smooth out and massage some of those descriptions of God's jealousy, but on the other hand, the writers too, because they're trying to also be really careful not to say something to make God really angry. They're like, yeah, you're the best.
I was gonna say, I wonder if that's where where the all-knowing thing came from. It's just people being like, he knows everything.
Yeah,
he's super smart. That's
so smart.
He knows all the things.
So much. He's so much better than all the other gods, right? Because, like, so sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you really do have to read between the lines very, very carefully to say, now, what is this? Like, is this the writer, expressing some true feelings, or is this the writer saying something because he's afraid, because he's compelled out of what the god or the king who really likes this god might do to him?
Right.
If he says something differently, or is he being tongue in cheek about this, or like there's so yeah, it's the Bible's hard. Feels like you haven't had an ad in a while.
Thank you.
But,
and if you want to be hard, just go to adamandeve.com. Enter that code word Brently at checkout to get 50% off any one item. 6 free movies, 3 free gifts, and free shipping on the whole order. Go to adamandeve.com. Enter code word Brently.
So
thank you. No,
the Bible is really hard, and if you because the Bible, I know you did. I know you did. So sorry, I was trying to segue into something else. But because the Bible's really hard, it takes some pretty careful thought and work in order to sort out how to read it, what to read, and how to understand shit in it. So and I like to think that that's where I can help. So yeah, and I think that's where the book can help. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because the Bible, that's the other thing too. I'll say this.
No, go for it.
I actually think too, when you gain a clearer perspective of what the Bible is, when you start to understand it, when you start to not take it like take it seriously, by not taking it so seriously, by recognizing that half of this shit just didn't happen in the first place. The gods aren't real, and most of the people that it describes weren't real. So just relax, take a step back, recognize that like lots of this is just fiction. Even the stuff that is real in it has been massively embellished.
Right.
So like when you factor in all these things, then you can kind of discover too that like I think the Bible could be really fun. Like, I mean, that stuff about Adam and animals and Eve, that's fun. It's fun to think through some of that stuff. You know, it's like there are fun aspects of the text that you know you can come to discover when you get a stronger sense, and I think that helps to disarm it. It becomes less dangerous that way, because if you take it too seriously, who knows what the fuck you're gonna do with it without knowing better. But
yeah, exactly. Like, and this is what I was going to ask, like real quick, like as far as taking it too serious is actually a great segue, because like I asked this is like the one question I asked to all the Bible scholars is I want to say it was in Daniel, right?
okay.
The book of Daniel. Like my dad, he always was like, no, there's proof that the Bible is true, and it's in Daniel because the prophecy of the four kingdoms, proves like how they couldn't know that those kingdoms were going to go in that order. And so, and it says what kingdoms are which thing, which piece of, because, it's all the different materials that the statue is made out of. And he's like, this material represents this, this kingdom, whatever. And it's like, how
and they
could
get the kingdoms wrong too? Because
right,
this is it, right? Like this is, Christians will look at that text and they'll go, the four kingdoms are Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. There's no such thing as Medo-Persia. There's not. The four kingdoms. Yeah. Because they need Rome in there, right, in order to make it work. But the four kings, and the reason we know this is because this is an ancient trope. It's not just Daniel. We see this in other Hebrew literature from the Dead Sea Scrolls. We see this in other Mesopotamian and Egyptian literature from the same time period. This was a well-known trope that there were the four kingdoms, the successive kingdoms, and they were Babylon, Medea, Persia, and Greece. That's what the four kingdoms were. But that doesn't get you to where, the Christians need you to get. So they fudged it. So yeah, the book of Daniel looks very impressive. It's fulfilled prophecies. How could he have known this stuff? Because he's writing hundreds of years before it all happened. Well, and this is something that scholars, and not just not just, you know, the dirty atheist scholars, but all the biblical scholars, like the Christian biblical scholars and the Jewish biblical scholars, and almost all of them recognize, this is widely known, that the book of Daniel was not written hundreds of years before, you know, the time of basically the time in which it talks about it. It was actually written in that time. So it was written in the 2nd century, but it was written in such a way to make it seem like it was written hundreds of years ago. You know, like it's predicting all these things that are actually going to happen. And there's many ways, there's all sorts of ways that scholars know this, understand this, but one of the clearest ones is this: if you read these prophecies, or if you read pretty much anything in the book of Daniel, you'll discover that Daniel's knowledge, historical knowledge of the actual Babylonian empires, like, not great.
Okay.
It's not, right? He makes mistakes about, you know, the Babylonian Empire. Well, just a couple of them. He says that so there's this one story about it says the king of Babylon, whose name was Belshazzar, was he was an actual guy, and he was, you know, well, I'll just say he was an actual guy. Daniel calls him the king of Babylon. That's wrong. He was never the king of Babylon. And then Daniel also says that he was the son of Nebuchadnezzar, and that's wrong. He was the son of another ruler by the name of Nabonidus, who was not even related to Nebuchadnezzar, actually became the king of Babylon through a coup that deposed the family of Nebuchadnezzar. So gets that wrong. It describes this figure, Darius the Mede, which is, you know, nobody who's ever existed, but probably meant to describe Darius the Great, Darius the First, who was not from Media, he was from Persia. So Daniel gets all of this stuff about Babylon wrong. He talks about things, he talks about the organization of, like, the empire as if it was the Persian Empire, which was much later, even though the Babylon Empire was organized, like, differently. So there's a bunch of these things. Now, Brently, if Daniel was, if this is a text that was actually written at the time of the Babylonian Empire, would the writer be making, like, stupid elementary mistakes about the Babylonian Empire? No, right? So they would have known who Darius the Great was. They would have known that Belshazzar was the son of Nabonidus and not Nebuchadnezzar. So it's
They do
all
both
of these
start the
things.
same. The nabby
Yeah.
threw them. It's the nab.
It's the nab. So that's true. But so that's one thing. And then what we notice is that when it comes to the history of the 2nd century, the writer gets it all, like, accurate on super fine details. His knowledge of the 2nd century, much later, is great. Everything is spot on. And then anytime he tries, and he doesn't very often, but when he tries to predict anything or talk about anything that passed, like, 165 BCE, it's all really vague, like, and all the armies will be defeated and everything will be peaceful and God will be great. The end. Right?
Right.
Like,
Oh,
so
so
scholars look at this and go, now hold on. This writer doesn't know much about Babylonian history or Persian history, knows a ton about what's happening in, the 2nd century, but doesn't seem to know anything past that. Kind of feels like he's probably writing in the 2nd century, like all these texts come from the 2nd century. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like that could be the reason. So, that's there's a whole bunch of reasons why. This is just one of them. From the perspective of the language, like the actual Hebrew that's used, it's late. It's like 2nd century. It's not the older stuff that you might expect if it was written earlier. We actually have manuscripts of the Book of Daniel that are quite old from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which also strongly suggests that this is a text that was written in the or at least people were still putting it together in the 2nd century. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we actually have like sources, other stories that are not in the Book of Daniel, but the writer of the Book of Daniel clearly seems to be riffing off of, stealing from in order to make his own stories. So it's like everything is just like laser focus pointing at 2nd century.
Now wait a second. I have it on high authority that Wes Huff said that
yes,
it's the exact word for word.
Word for word.
That's right.
Yes. Joe Rogan was convinced by this.
He was like, wow. It was one of the biggest wows I've heard from him. And he's got a bunch of
so. I think so. But I don't know. If you can't convince Joe Rogan of incredulous bullshit, then you're probably just a poor communicator, because he seems to be able to believe just about any fucking thing that you tell him.
Right.
So
unless it's progressive or requires some compassion for other people.
So, and honestly, that's so. No, listen, and okay, you could believe me. I have a PhD in biblical studies. I've written books and articles about the Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls and early Judaism. I've taught courses on this stuff. I've edited. I've served as a peer review editor. Like I've peer reviewed articles and stuff for publication. I've done a lot of these things. Or you could believe Wes Huff, who's a PhD student working on like New Testament manuscripts, like not even New Testament manuscripts so much as early Christian manuscripts. So I don't know, I don't know.
It's a tough call. It's a toss up.
Yeah, it is tough. Wes, who has, God damn. So I'm sorry. I just glanced at the chat and I just had this conversation. I knew it. I knew you couldn't help yourself, Maya. I knew it. So
I saw it on a video where they were very upset about you and Maya and a bunch of other people. It's like an hour and 40 minutes long video.
I make people upset. I can. It happens, but
you don't like racists.
Well, that too. I don't, and and I don't feel like I should have to apologize for that, and I don't feel like I don't feel like I should have to go and get to know a racist better if I don't want to. ew.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
get the fuck out of here. Gross. No, just yeah, don't. It's we don't have to talk to these people.
No. Or
We're allowed to call them bad names and to ignore them. They've earned it.
They've earned they've earned our ignorance. Wait, ignorance. Hold on. The ignoring and
yes,
they've
and now I'm trying to think of something and I can't, and that's probably it. But they've earned our well, yeah, shoot, no. No,
we're all tripped up for the word.
We are, yes. So,
oh my god,
oh well,
that's so funny.
But yeah, but hey, can I ask you some questions? I feel like I've been talking for a lot, but
No, yeah, go for it. Hey,
yeah. So you're the punk, you're the punk apostate, right?
That's me. Yeah,
that's you. So you're all into the Hey, you have. Oh my god, that's Ray Comfort on your shirt.
Yeah, with the banana mohawk.
Oh.
That's
oh my god, that's amazing, dude.
I used to do a lot of Ray Comfort.
Oh my. Did you ever have a mohawk?
I didn't. No, I always had the either the puff, the full, you know, or the ball spikes. I really like the ball spikes because I like the way they would twist all in different directions and stuff. But no, I never did the mohawk. I know. I'm almost like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, totally. No shit. Oh my god. I'd love to see
I mean, I had a mohawk and I have mohawk tips because when it was like a serious mohawk, like it was, one of those like
the casualties.
Yeah, exactly. So but you can't you can almost, unless you hate your hair, and I never really did. If you hate your hair, then and you have nothing but time, then you can wear it up like regularly. But if you don't hate your hair and if you've got shit to do, then you usually never or very, very rarely do that. And that was my discovery, right? Was like you have to put like crazy shit in your hair in order to get it to, like, if it's really long, to get it to stand up like that. And then, it destroys your hair. It's stuck in, like, you need like super sticky stuff. And then it's
hard.
stuck. Yeah. And it's hard to wash out. So, and I have, maybe it's better if you have thicker hair, but my hair is fairly fine. So it always was. So it didn't, I don't know. So, but yeah, I in high school, I had a mohawk, but
hell yeah,
fuck yeah,
that's awesome.
So,
a buddy of mine,
and
okay,
what's that?
Oh no, I was gonna say a buddy of mine would use, those art sticks that you would like stick, like you would use for like art projects and stuff.
Oh yes,
he would put those.
Oh
he would put those in his hair, and it seemed like an excellent idea until you get to the show, and he's like, stop touching, oh my god, stab my head. It's like all night.
You're poking him on his scalp. Oh god, that's hilarious. That's awesome.
Like, okay, don't do that. That's a bad idea. Jesus.
But nobody's teaching you how to do it. We had to figure all this shit out for ourselves. And when I was younger, there was no YouTube. So you literally, you couldn't just, type in, how do I make my mohawk stand up? You couldn't do that. So you had to, if you didn't know, that was my problem too, is because I grew up in I grew up in a pretty conservative Christian household. I didn't actually know a lot of people who had like full on mohawks, so I had to figure this shit out for myself. But yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. But
that's what I was gonna say. Trying a bunch of shit.
Certainly was. When I got older, like actually when I did a postdoc in Norway between 2012 and 2015, and Norway's the coolest place. I mean, I'm sure there's many cool places, but out of all the places that I've been, it's one of the coolest, because nobody really cares what you look like or what you dress like or what kind of music you listen to. So I kind of had like I, I I like punk music. I always have, but my first love is death metal, and I kind of had like a death metal renaissance while I was in Norway, because
Oh,
it's
yep.
mainstream there, right? Like
That's like the
they
home
play
of
that
it, right?
shit. Yeah, they play that shit on the radio. So you know, and when I hung out with friends in, the religious studies department, like tons of people listened to it and would go to shows, and so I was like, yeah, I'm home. I'm home.
That's
So
awesome. Hell yeah.
yeah, while I was in Norway, I arrived in Norway because I was doing post PhD job interviews, so my hair was really short, and I looked very presentable. But
It's very
while I was
admirable.
there, yeah, yeah, I had a jacket that had it had the patches on it.
I was
I
joking, but that's
still
perfect.
no, I'm telling the truth. I still have a
Awesome.
brown corduroy blazer. I do.
That was
Um,
exactly what I was picturing when I said that's amazing. Oh my
it
god.
was.
It's like,
Uh,
it's too,
totally.
oh,
I even still feel some pressure to wear it whenever I go to like conferences and things like that, just because there's still a lot of people. I don't want to freak everyone out. So
right, right.
um, but anyways, I I immediately started growing my hair out. I spent 2.5, 3 years growing it out. While I was in Norway, one of the most metal shows on television premiered, which was History Channel's Vikings.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Those first 2 or 3 seasons were just right?
Very
Season 1
good.
and season 2 especially, but that is while I grew out my hair, and then I shaved everything all the way around, and I ended up with just a top, and I braided it
It's awesome. Hell yeah.
down the
Oh,
back.
no.
I actually went to there is somebody can find a picture of me floating around. I've seen it on the internet. There is a picture of me floating around out there somewhere reading a paper with my Viking braid in.
Oh shit.
So at an academic conference. But
That is so, that just does not seem to, like, it doesn't feel like it fits. Like it just,
no, I know, right?
that's
But
brilliant.
listen,
I love it.
it's different. It's different in Scandinavia. I spent a lot of time. I have tons of friends in Finland, which is probably even more metal than
Right.
Norway, because yeah, it's like they people just live on like giant ice blocks out there and have nothing. They have nothing
There's
to
no,
do but you know drink and listen to death metal and strip all their clothes off and sit in the sauna. So
so no.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
so that's how you do it.
And
But
master the double bass. That's it. You guys got to master
that's
that
it.
double kick.
That's it. And if you want to master
Oh, there we go.
sorry.
You want to master Bates? Yeah, yeah. So, go to adamandeve.com. Enter code word Brently at checkout. You get 50% off almost any one item. 6 free movies, 3 free gifts, and free shipping on the whole order. Go to
So yeah.
adamandeve.com.
So one of the things I think we've chatted, texted about some of this. One of the things I've been keenly interested in is because you were like familiar with a fan of like the Christian punk scene.
Yeah. Yep, that's where I came
Awesome,
from.
and that's where you came from. That's amazing.
It's
So
weird, man.
yeah, it is. But some of the stuff, and I don't know, I'm probably a lot older than you. So I'm over
You're not
50. But
So I was gonna say everybody says that, and then I'm like, I'm 41, and they're like, nope, never mind. But no, you still got me by a little
yeah.
bit.
So I was like, I can't say that I liked them much, but I had friends who were big fans of like the One Bad Pig. They were a
Oh yeah.
terrible.
Oh
They were a
god,
terrible
yeah.
band. They're so
That's so
bad.
funny. And somebody was just asking me about them, and I totally blanked on it until I went and listened to them, and I was like, "Oh no, yeah, I remember these guys."
Yeah, it's terrible.
I was not into it.
I'm turning it
that
off.
was even below my standard, which was through the floor back then, by the way, because it was Christian.
Yeah, of course.
Gotta
But there was better stuff. Back then there was better stuff too. So like, and I'll say this for One Bad Pig. If you haven't heard it, they did a cover of Johnny Cash's Man in Black with Johnny Cash himself.
Holy shit, I didn't realize
If
that.
you haven't heard it, you need to look it up. You need to find it. You need to listen to it because it's not I won't say it's great, but it's not bad. And it's 100% because Johnny Cash is fucking, doing a punk song, right? So
Dude.
it's good. And it's actually him. And he actually starts the song with hello, I'm Johnny Cash. And then they just break in, right? Because I was like 17 years old or something like that, and I lived with my dad, and we used to have these things. Now, kids in the audience, we used to have telephones in our houses that were connected to the wall, and you had to pick it up and actually talk on it. No, you couldn't. And if you were away from the house, you had to have a tape recorder set up to your telephone so that you could record a message on it, and then people could leave you messages. And so I recorded a message for the house phone that we had, and all I did was played that first bit with Johnny Cash saying, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," and that was it. That was the message. So when you rang my house, and the phone picked up and no one was home, it was "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," and then you were supposed to leave. Yeah. So, but I got that from One Bad Pig. But there was some other stuff. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Breakfast with Amy? Do you remember those guys? It's super old school.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I remembered that one. Breakfast with
Or
Amy. I'd have to look up. A lot of times I'll hear it and then I'll be like, "Oh shit," like, 'cause there was so much it felt like at the time,
Yeah. So this is really early stuff though. This is OG stuff. One of the ones that I also really like to listen to is a band called Fluffy. And I'd be very shocked if anybody's ever heard of these guys. They made 2 albums. They might be impossible to find anywhere. But they were amazing. And then another group that you can actually find on Spotify was the Scattered Few. And I don't even know if they were just kind of their own thing, but I think they were classified as punk quite a bit because a lot of the stuff sort of fit into that deeply musically, socially deconstructionist genre. But yeah, And so that's kind of where I came from on
That's awesome.
on the Christian side.
Did you ever hear any Christian metal? Have you ever heard any like they're like
Christian
Extol
metal.
and
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
yeah, and
So
Zayo and or they weren't really metal.
yes,
They were still
yeah.
metal.
I used yeah. So it yeah, I kind of cut my teeth on again probably earlier stuff like mortification or
Oh wow. Okay.
deliverance
Yep.
or
I remember those.
betrayal or what was the big one, vengeance, which had to become vengeance rising because they got a
Yep.
they were they were sued,
Yeah.
things like
It was
that.
radio.
There was a one of my favorite Christian metal bands is actually like a group from the 70s called Trouble. That very few people, you can find them on Spotify too. You should look them up. They're pretty like dark doom doom metal.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah, doing that. Yeah.
they were they started as like a Christian band in the 70s and then early 1980s, but never really broke through because I think it's hilarious. But they loved Jesus, but they also loved uh, drugs and alcohol and sex, and
Who doesn't?
because
You
of
know?
and because of all that, lots of people were like, what would happen is people would like be like, "Oh my God, this this is such a great album with this message about, Jesus and salvation and going to heaven." And then they would learn, they'd go and see a show, or they'd learn a little bit about them and go, oh, well, no, that's no good. And actually on their first album, it's actually it's a riff that I use in the introduction to some of my own live streams. It comes from a song by Trouble called "The Bastards Will Pay." And it's a song all about like gross politicians and gross conservatives and gross uh preachers and televangelists, and how one of these days God's just gonna strike you all dead.
Damn.
And that is one of the lyrics in the song is, "Come on, people, let me hear you say, you fucking bastards are gonna pay."
Hell yeah, dude. That's
Christian man,
badass.
dude. These guys loved Jesus.
That's so
Yeah, they
funny.
did.
It's
I know.
like they're too Christian to appeal to like the non-Christians and
Yes.
too non-Christian to appeal
Yes.
to the
Exactly. Exactly. So, no,
Uh-oh.
they were
No.
they were awesome. So, yeah, that's kind of yeah,
That's awesome.
that's the music, right?
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, have you ever heard Living Sacrifice? Have you ever heard
Yes.
that band?
Yes.
I
So,
still
they
kinda
were
like them, to be honest.
do you kinda like them? Yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty good.
I mean, musically,
So,
it's just fun, you know? It's not like you
yes.
can understand what they're saying most of the songs, so it's
Most of the time. And actually, I think that actually kind of became to me, um, uh, and I know other people have pointed this out too, but to me, it almost like what happened in lots of the thrashy, Christian thrashy, Christian death metal scene is these guys just I think they felt like they had to be um so edgy in terms of their they couldn't be in their like in their lifestyle or their lyrical content or anything like that, right? But they felt this impetus to try and prove themselves in some respect, especially amongst the people who they were really trying to impress, because the people, musicians and artists, are all really trying to impress are all the other musicians and artists. So they're all trying to really impress, like, everybody else in secular music. So in order to do that, they just had to go all the way to the musical edge, right?
Right.
So there's almost you can almost like just listen to a piece of Christian thrash and go, without even knowing anything about it, and go, oh yeah, that's a Christian band, just because they almost kind of developed a sound
Yup.
that was theirs, right?
Oh yeah. It was
So
like super complicated, like
yes,
timing and stuff. That was like, yeah, because they're also all dead fucking sober. So like, they,
yes, yes.
that's the other thing, So they're like fucking really good. Everybody else is fucking wasted.
And yes,
you know,
I think that's actually a big part of like a lot of this a lot of the stuff that I actually kind of gravitated to was the really technical shit, because I was also listening to it all sober, right?
right, exactly, right.
But
Which was fun.
but
Trying to figure out.
I still, yeah, I still really love though too, Skinny Puppy and SNFU and Circle
hell yeah.
Jerks and
Hell yeah. Love Circle
a bunch
Jerks.
of these guys. So, but
That's awesome. Yeah, I
yeah.
actually just well, it was like one of the last big shows I went and saw was it was NoFX's last like final
Oh
tour.
man, really? That's
Yeah, it
awesome,
was
dude.
like they're still releasing albums, which is weird, but I guess they just don't want to tour anymore because it was just
Why,
getting too much
God,
for
why
them.
would you when you're that age? Like,
Yeah,
seriously.
I mean,
And especially the kind of venues that you're likely to, they're not like I understand that Iron Maiden and Metallica are still interested in touring and doing shows, because they're making like millions of dollars.
right.
And but I mean, when you're, you're just never gonna get that kind of payout. And honestly, when you get to be that age, just stay home, right?
Right, and the and I think the fact that they would just stay wasted, it's like your body can
Yeah,
only
right. You can only do so much.
when you're like 60 or going on 6, it's like, okay.
Oh, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And I listen. It's hard enough for me to do a Friday night Scotch stream with my friend Dr. Joel Carrico, just because if I'm not careful, it just does bad shit to me, and
Right.
I fucking pay for it for a couple days after that. But anyways, yeah, it's oh
Which
god,
yeah.
drinking is less fun when you get to be my age.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I'm right there, like, honestly, I'm 41, and I'm already like,
yeah,
okay,
it's like,
I don't know how much
not so much.
doing Ben's show. Dr. Ben has a show, Holy Spirits,
Oh,
where you
Holy
get
Spirits.
wasted and tell a Bible story, and
Yes.
that was I was sick the whole next fucking day. I was just like, "Oh, why did I do this? This is painful." It's like,
See,
but
yeah, I am hesitant to do Dr. Ben's show for two reasons. That's one of them. The other one is that I've watched a couple of his, and I'm like, God, I wouldn't be funny at all, because like I'd be like, yeah, but the fucking Hebrew root of this is not properly
conjugated.
situated, not conjugated in the pill. God damn it, it's a hip fail, and everybody should know that. Fucking morons.
We're like, what? What is he even?
Yes. That is it. Everybody would have no goddamn idea what was
Conjugate, like
going on. And
visits? Conjugal
my
visits? I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. What's he talking about?
my stories would suck. My drunk Bible stories would be incomprehensible. So it just
God, makes me want to watch it more now. But it's funny you brought up your Scotch scholar and Scotch streams, because like I went down to get the book yesterday because it had just come out, right? Well, and I went down there and I looked everywhere for I want to say like 45 minutes at,
like to a bookstore.
Yeah, went to the actual store.
No.
I was like, where the fuck is it? It's just came out. I was like checking all the new, they have like the new like things. I was looking for your picture next to like the standing up with all the pile of books and one of the tables in the middle. But no. And so finally I go up there and ask her, and she's like, oh no, I'm so sorry, we don't have that book. And I was like, fuck. I was like, okay, well, she's like, we'll order it, we'll send it to you directly to your house, right?
Oh, that's nice.
But I was thinking, since I didn't have it for today, what I'll do is I want to react to one of your Scotch and Scholar like the streams, right?
Yeah,
and I'll we'll talk about the book then. I'll promote it
man.
Bit,
I'm that sounds cool. That's we're cool with that. Listen, I also don't have a copy yet. Amazingly, part of the reason for that is that I live in Canada. And there's this postal, fucking Canada.
Way better than us. Medical bullshit, goddamn it.
Stay away, guys. It's ours. So but it causes all sorts of havoc when it comes to doing shit across the border, and as a result I still haven't seen it, and I probably won't get a copy until I think it'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday next week. But people are going to get copies of my book before I do. It's just before I've even seen it. I'm like, how fair is that?
That's pretty crazy.
It's not okay. It's not okay.
No,
it really
no.
Yeah.
Damn, that's wild. That's probably when I'm going to get it. To be honest, that's funny. We'll probably be getting our books at the same time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's wild.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Oh yeah, no, I think I will. It looks awesome just from what I've looked at, and I really like the idea.
Did you look at the did you in the preview? And just to, actually, I've got, if you want, I can share my screen with you and just give you and even just to kind of give you a taste for the flavor of it. There it is. But I noticed in the peek inside, if you did you read the sample? Because
I read something. Now I'm trying to remember. Oh,
okay.
I don't know if I read the actual. Okay, I think I read the description.
Can you see that? You can see that,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
So in the peek inside, it shows you like the table of contents, right? But it has the first the introduction, which I title. Can you read that? Can you see what it says? The title of the introduction
is introduction, citing the grass.
It's cutting the grass.
Oh, cutting site. I assumed citing.
It's probably really blurry. So
yeah, a little bit.
And I can zoom in?
Grass, right.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
There you go. So
there it is.
It's cutting the grass
around the giant space pearls.
Penis.
Penis. I was like, couldn't be penis. That's not what's.
The cutting grass around the giant space penis. Perfect. Is the name of the introduction, and the very first sentence is, "Let's face it, religion is weird." So, and yeah. So there you go. I think
you want to cut the grass with a giant space penis. I don't know if the Adam and Eve
If
has space
if
penises, but
you have a giant space penis that requires some grass
cutting the
cutting
grass,
cutting the grass
it
around.
makes sense if you know.
You
Oh.
might. I don't know. What if I know?
Oh god, that's awesome.
But
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, man, for hanging out. This is a lot of fun.
I've had lots of fun. This has been really good, and I hope I don't get canceled because of this. So
I have a tendency to do that to people. It's not, my fault, but oh god, that's great. Your students are gonna find it and you're like, yeah, there were Adam and Eve ads all through.
wow, that's a much better one. You see, this is Maya's got a much better one though.
Oh, let me see.
Either of us. So
Wait, oh, is it
not
Maya?
that one. It's above
Oh,
it. It's two
above
more,
it. Oh,
three more
there you
above it. There you
And
go.
if you want a giant space penis in your crack, damn, it was right there. Oh my god. Now you're making me mad that I didn't see. Damn, that was perfect. Thank you. Brilliant.
That was perfect.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So
That was great.
all right. Well,
all right. Well, thanks again, man. I really did have a blast. This was awesome.
I did too. So yeah,
we'll have to get you back at some point. And
I'd love to come back. It'd be fun.
Right. Maybe we can react to some stuff. We'll take that
Yeah,
next time.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
That'd be great.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. This was super awesome. I really appreciate y'all being here. If you like the stream, then you should like the stream by pushing the like button.
Yes, you
I'd
should.
appreciate it. But if you want to support the show, you can support us by supporting our sponsor, adamandeve.com, or you can do a bunch of other shit, right? You can become a patron at patreon.com/punkapostate. You can do a one-time payment on Cash App. You can, the cash tag is punkapostate. You can become a member by hitting that join button and becoming a member of the show, Punkapostate. You can email me at a Gmail account of punkapostate. That's the beginning. And you can join our Discord, which is called Brently's Shack. It's very inconsistent with everything else. But yeah, follow me out on the socials. And the main thing is to stay logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we will see you next time.